first two people were sitting there, and they've got a lot of room, a space. Two new others, citizens, go inside, and the first impression was the two people at the beginning, they don't like the situation. They are two foreigners come in, and I have to share my room, my space with them. And the door closed. The other time the door is open, so you see the four persons sitting there having a chat, and the new other two persons which come the last time, they were a new foreigner. The four persons sitting there at the first, they forgot they were themselves what we call foreigner. So they don't want to share a space with the other new one. What I'm going to tell you, the last sentence is just, it's not only to share space, it's not only to share money with other people, it's not only to share resources. It's a question of justice, opportunities, but it's a question of participation. Can you give me a chance to say something, to do something with you? And this is the question of diversity politics, which we have in Germany. I am really thankful that myself, as a Kurdish Lebanese and as a man with a handicap, to live here and to get really a lot of money every month, alone just to pay my people, to get a wheelchair, 28,000 euros. I wouldn't do this in Kurdistan or in Lebanon. I'm very thankful. A lot of people are thankful. But the second chance, which I believe is the question of participation, to be apart from this system, to get recognition from the whole society, and to pay yourself, to take account, you can make yourself a contribution if you get your chance to contribute. Language, resources, money, system, but participation has to do with the overall question of diversity politics. How to implement, how to get these challenges, and how to deal with obstacles. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Faraj, for this very insightful talk. You started off from so many angles and perspectives of how to approach diversity, and this really helped me a lot to also understand what are the challenges we are facing at our university, and what might be the next steps to be done on that. Of course, patience is a great word with that, but also to have a clear idea and notion of what is going to happen, and that's what you have, and that's why it's so impressive to really see what you have reached so far. And it's about, as you say, participation, but also structures that offer the space for participation. And so it's always, as you say, a fight, how to make that space available.
It is a fight, but please don't get me wrong. A fight without to be enemy.
Yeah.
Do not know. It's a democratical fight. It's a controversial one. You can talk with me, you can talk with the others, and the one who've got one rights concept, he will be at the majority the winner. That's what I understand about fight.
That's how I got it. So I wonder whether there are any questions or comments.
Professor? First, excuse my English.
Excuse my English too. Okay.
I am from Brazil. I work for the Ministry of Education as a supervisor in opening and operating authorization of college and universities in Brazil. If they not meet the given by the federal government, they cannot work, the universities and the colleges. In Brazil, diversity is a policy of a state. The law is also followed by all states and the municipalities. For example, if we have a student like you, our structures should be changes to the student, this student.
And these changes happen in Brazil?
First floor,
Bottom up? Rampe.
ramps,
Yeah.
beds,
Yeah.
adapted beds
Okay.
for our students.
Okay.
In universities, colleges, schools,
Yeah.
all schools,
Yeah.
in the states of municipal
Municipal.
schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have problems, several problems, but exists a law.
Okay. Is there any laws in Brazil which support diversity policy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I speak 6 languages, but not Portuguese.
We have the politics. Yes, we have the politics.
Okay.
Politics. We have a problem of diversity.
Okay. The reason why I ask you if there in Brazil a law of diversity is simply because when it's a law, so you can defend yourself as an individual. You can go there and say, this is my right, at least in democratic countries. And I think Brazil is democratic.
Yes.
Okay, but it's not enough to have a law.
Mm-hmm.
It is also the people who struggle to have to fight in a system to say, to have an argument, to a concept, and stay behind this. Not, but the first time the headmaster of a school say for you as a teacher, when you ask, I would like to make a diversity policy, and my headmaster say to you, as an authoritarian, please leave me with your, I don't know, rubbish or something like that. I don't have the time to talk with you. You don't have to give up. You just, you know what I mean? You have to fight for your right, and this is what I love in Germany, the initiative, the spirit of initiative is there. And that was my decision to get these students, to go with them, to develop a concept, and to talk about diversity.
Correct.
Thank you very much. It was really, I mean, from various perspectives, it was a very important presentation, because the first most important thing is where you focus on participation. And I think participation is the key point, not only regarding diversity, but regarding all programs, all our lives. And that is why I always say, African studies, for example, we have to participate. We have to bring them, so to say, to the public. We have to be part of also of the politicians, of the policies, and so on. This means, of course, acting. And this means, of course, persons who are ready to do this, devote their time, and are patient.
Exactly. Exactly.
And this is, it's very good, and well, we are working on it also with our students, because one of the most important aspect of big STAS is individuality. And we don't have a program so that they must go through.
Okay.
Every single person has her or his program that is done by the person with the supervisor and two mentors. So, because otherwise we have so many different disciplines.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you, so we have in your terminology diversity management,
Exactly.
we have diversity policy,
Yeah.
and you mentioned that it is not the same as inclusion.
Yeah.
Can you say a word on inclusion? Because inclusion has become a modern, fashionable word, and especially on the level of schools.
Yes.
Yeah, from primary and so on, with all these other types of teaching, Montessori,
And other Waldorf and
Waldorf, and so these things, who have always tried to have inclusion. Can you say a word on the difference, how you see it?
A word, yes. Give me 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, I can't tell.
No, impossible. A word.
I know. In 2009, the first inclusion document in the European Union was implementing a paper. And this paper was the first, I think, declaration in the whole European Union to be an inclusive society. I asked myself, what is an inclusive society? Because to me, automatically begin with the word diversity. It's also an inclusive management strategy. But I've been taught this is not the same. I'm still challenging and I'm still trying to understand. Next year, 2014, there will be a lot of, in Germany, in universities, in schools, of discussion to implement this, what 5 years ago was a document, to implement it in the practice. A lot of schools say we've been implementing inclusion, and that's mean what the professor from Brazil said, you can build a ramp, you can give a lesson to individual handicaps. This is not inclusion and this is not diversity, because you're reducing the people of a one aspect, of a one character, but the individual are more than a lot of characters. I think that inclusion is synonymous from diversity, but inclusion is more moral. Diversity, I think diversity politics is more practical.
Okay.
And there are a lot of challenges on this. It's my point of view.
Maybe just one word to that before, or is it directly also to this question?
I know.
Yeah, maybe I just want to, maybe inclusion is also sort of what, or the strength of diversity is what you have said in the beginning, also to identify differences, to insist on all people are equal and yet there are differences in terms of structure. And as for my own understanding of inclusion, this sort of silences the differences in the power structure too much, because inclusion means there's already a fixed corpus and everything has to be included and becomes one, whereas diversity insists on the multiple voices and so that's for me the difference between.
Yeah, I like this distinction. Yes, I do like this. Yes.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, I'm wondering about the public response to the diversity management project, because I watched from your video, during the process, I only saw the members from the ethnic minorities, in Germany. So I'm thinking that when the process go on, when they even though the higher, I mean, one at the higher level gave them space to talk and how about the public. The public majority. I just wondering how they respond to this project.
I can give you an example. At the beginning, it was very difficult to get people to talk with them because they wanted to be like other German students, not to talk about weakness, about other competence. And when we go and we have something like self-awareness to talk about people with the ethnic minorities, without telling them you are Turkish, Kurdish or Arabic. No, we're giving space, as you said, to talk about themselves, about competence, intercultural competence, without reducing them of this one character or two character. You can decide, as you said, when you're in individual aspects, you can, with a supervisor, can develop a concept of it. If this is a kind of concept we can develop. We are at the beginning with this 2 years, really hard working, and we still are at the beginning. You asked me, I think, at the beginning, before I prepared, if this will be maybe successful. I think yes, but it has to do with people to not lose patience and to be forced and to be in aspect of language, law, structures, and to be one part from this society with resources, with participation, to be acting, and to have to distinguish between inclusion and diversity. I think it's a step by step the process. Yes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the way this could be even implemented in our universities back home. I'm from Ethiopia, and then we have this challenge at the university levels. But I want also to emphasize on the challenge of implementing diversity management. When you said without resource, it would be more challenging, but I would see from a different angle also. I understand that resource is very important, but political or other readiness might be even more important in our context, because without recognizing and without the commitment of the officials or politicians, then even if there is resource, then it might be another challenge.
Exactly.
So I think you can also be a bit clarify on that. I mean, resource is not the only challenge.
No.
Yeah.
What I meant, the resource is a challenge. I meant this is one of really relevant challenges and one possibilities. But you've got a good dimension is to be a part from this process, and as you said, to have, maybe I put in a discussion a new terminology, lobbyism. You have to be a part from this process, and you have to understand the structures and got the argument. How you do this? Lobby work. Lobbyism work. Lobbyism is nothing which hurt other people if you don't, what we call bribe them. Bestechen, I think. Bribe in English?
Yeah, right.
You don't give someone money and say, buy my product. No, this is not lobbyism. Lobbyism is something like you talk with politics and buy a product, an idea, and that I give you 100% right. It's not the resource. But resource also not always money. I'm not thinking about resource, about money. One resource relevant is lobbyism. To take influence, you know what I mean? To get impression, you talk with a politician, after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if they got time, and they say, okay, you can visit me in my office, we can get an expression from your idea. This is lobby work, and this is one of resources. You can imagine, I think you can be successful in this way direction.
I think the greatest challenge is something else. What you mean? It is in the heads.
Yeah, that is also what I mean, because when we take it in a different context, not
Yeah.
like in Germany,
Yeah.
the first thing I think is recognition.
Yeah.
I mean, people should recognize
Yeah.
the rights of all
Yeah.
diversities
Yeah.
to be equal and to reach at the same level of even participation and getting resources or opportunities. So that comes from the mentality of even everybody, not only the officials, but
Yeah.
even colleagues who are together
Yeah.
should think that Mr. X or Ms. Y is the same with me.
Yeah.
Then it starts from that level, and when these actors reach to the level of decision making, then they internalize that concept of equality and then can distribute any resource, what we can say, either the ideas or whatever aspect of resource to all diversity. That is what I mean also.
Okay. You know, if you talk with a German professor, okay? Imagine I'm now a German professor, blonde hair and blue eyes. You know what I answer? What's your name now? What's your name?
Hasebe.
Hasebe. There is a law in German society, which is, I say in German and then in English. Die Würde des Menschen ist unantastbar. The dignity of a human being is untouchable, I think. So, we can maybe write a dissertation about this philosophical. You mentioned the word recognition. Recognition is, I think, one of the most dangerous terminology in education and philosophy. Why? If I recognize you in a meeting, just only to give you an impression, you and me, we are one. But in the hidden agenda, you are not the same. And I am not giving you any of my bottle of water. I give you, really, I love this word and the concept of recognition. And I have a lot of discussions. But I think it's really dangerous to talk about recognition without participation, without resources. There are a lot of other aspects, practical aspects, than moral aspects. And this is one of these diversity politics which I would like to implement in the university and I hope in the public opinion in German. And I am optimist. There is a lot of change which happened in Germany. But it won't change alone. There will be participants like you.
I think we have a lot of cases in other countries, not only in Africa, in other countries, where the matter is of cultural tolerance. We have a dissertation in Vixas on albino in literature, for example. We know that what happens with albino people in some cultures. Not Eastern Africa and Western Africa, they are so to say, expelled very often from the society. For example, your case with the witches, so-called witches. I mean, because they are doing something, they are different
from the majority.
They are witches.
Yeah.
You know, in Europe, they were
burned.
There were fire on the witches. So it is the point is what I see as a point of reflection in your case, what you are speaking about, Mr. Silva, is how to work so that people open their hearts for all other possibilities, which they are also culturally, since they are being babies, have been treated, have been pushed into thinking they are bad. For example, I come from Bulgaria, and if you don't eat till the end, the gypsy will steal you.
Oh.
Okay? So,
prejudice.
Well, of course, but it is cultural.
Okay.
I mean, you are albino is,
Okay.
is a curse of God, or I mean, all
yeah.
these things. And so, how to cope with these concepts,
Yeah.
these imagination in your head? Of course, we are in a better situation that we are speaking about academia,
Yeah.
higher education, universities.
Yeah.
There you have other possibilities. I heard recently that in Kenya, for example, Hutu and Tutsi, why do you kill them? Why should I kill the other guy? I mean, political and so
Yeah.
on. But I heard in Kenya at the universities there is a law now that the the dean and vice dean should be from different ethnic groups, not from the same ethnic group. For example, there is they try this way or that way. Whether it is good or not bad, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
We should be observing because there are cases, where possibly the most qualified are both from one ethnic group. And a quota, not maybe totally stupid, but yet there is a way of thinking of bringing people together. And the most important thing is the tolerance in hand. This is the challenge, especially when you don't have resources, money.
I think it is a challenge, but you can face this challenge because we now in this room are the practical example. We talk about this, and I don't think one of you will go outside and forget our discussion without having an impression, an impact to give this on neighbor or students, something like that. And this is an initiative, what we call initiative groups. They can do something, family, students, I don't know, kindergarten, whatever. And this is my hope for the future. You can do something, you have the process, you have to be the question of recognition, but only to see one thing from one angle. I think this had nothing to do with inclusion and diversity. Just to be apart from a bigger system. That will be, I think, one solution of not other solution.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I enjoyed it and it got me thinking also. First of all, the first question is this. Standards. Standards in diversity. I know that, like we're saying, we come from countries where people are ethnically diverse, religiously diverse, culturally diverse, and sometimes in making decisions, in making political decisions, you're talking about politics, the issue that who do you select, and why you select this, and where lies the standards, and for instance, in my own country, it's a very big issue. I'm from Nigeria, in West Africa, so we're so culturally diverse, and sometimes, like now, nobody talks about the how do I say, the mental capacity, the intellectual capacity of the president. Nobody talks about that. People are interested in, is he coming from the north or coming from the south?
Okay.
I'm sorry I have to use a vulgar word something. Even if the person is stupid, nobody is interested in the quality, the mental quality. People are interested in, is the person a Christian?
Yeah.
Is the person, Muslim? Is the presidential ticket Muslim Christian or Muslim Muslim? So sometimes I ask myself, are we not sometimes trying to sacrifice excellence, high standards, in the quest of trying to reconcile or include, let me use the word, become inclusive or manage the diversity.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that? Diversity management and then maintaining excellence in terms of standards in an institution.
In the first part of my presentation, I mentioned few diversity goals, how to be a strategical diversity manager, and more than 3 or 4 points are similar: equality, justice, and how to put this goals. These are concepts, as we said, And these concepts are connecting with resources and participation and recognition. Myself, I was born in Lebanon as a Kurdish origin. I am Muslim. And I grew up there in an environment before the war. It was a really, I don't know, I wasn't in a paradise, but I think paradise is something great maybe. It was paradise. Beirut was great without war, without ethnic cleansing. Because I do think we have similarities with your country. We ask about Muslim and Christians and other ethnic minorities. I think the main question will be in democratic countries is how to put these laws in constitutions. The solution is not only the constitution and not only the standards. You have to distinguish between the academic, how is the president, is he a stupid man, doesn't matter, because he's Muslim, is one of us. You can't change this in 50 years democracy after the war in Germany, and I don't know how many years democracy since the independence was in Africa. This is a long way to go. But it isn't a helpless concept, because if you don't win now, win yourself and for your children, and you have a concept, one of them including diversity and participation, recognition, you won't be able to accept yourself as a human being with dignity. That's what I mean. It's very difficult, but I think it is always hope. Not only the academic, not only we here in the room, even in families, they begin to see this change. You can't kill your neighbor, you can't kill him because he's of other religions or that. And I think one of the hopes which made me optimistic is the internet and Twitter, Facebook. This is great. Because you can see how people connect with each other and how people 20 years ago you can see or you can see development. It was if you encounter another people, African or Chinese, you speak with them in English, but you don't understand a lot of cultural differences. Now you can put on the internet some African and development countries. You've got thousands of sites. You can read them. This is one danger. You can have a lot of mistakes, but one of the favorite, which I like on internet, you can make it your own decisions. I don't know what in future will happen, but I think inclusion and diversity, management with recognition and other participation will be one solution.